Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of His Word with Gloria. I hope you're all doing great. And today, our topic is Rest, My Child. And our text is taken from 2 Kings chapter 6, from verse 15. So I'm going to read. Verse 15 says, When the servant of the man of God rose early in the morning and went out, behold, an army with horses and chariots was all around the city. And the servant said, Alas, my master, what shall we do? He said, Do not be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them. Then Elisha prayed and said, O Lord, please open his eyes that he may see. So the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. And when the Syrians came down against him, Elisha prayed to the Lord and said, Please strike these people with blindness. So he struck them with blindness in accordance with the prayer of Elisha. And Elisha said to them, This is not the way, and this is not the city. Follow me, and I'll bring you to the man whom you seek. And he led them to Samaria. So the brief summary of this old text we've read is just when Elisha, the city was besieged by their enemies, and they were scared because there were chariots and horses and all the soldiers of their enemies who had come against the city. And all Elisha did, because God had told him at every point in time, he had always trusted God to know that God will always fight their battle while they hold their peace. And by the time when the servant of Elisha was in fear when he saw the other soldiers, the soldiers with their chariots and horses and all that. And Elisha told God to open his eyes so that he can see that even God had his own battle, that even with the natural eyes the servant could not see, but Elisha with the spiritual eyes could see that the Lord was on their side, and even the Lord's army was there for them. And not just that, God was able to blind the enemies, and Elisha, the enemies that came to fight them, the same Elisha deceived them out of the city. And today, just God is telling us to hold on, like hand over your struggles, your problems, your challenges to me. Help me, hand it over to me. I'm able to fight your battles on your behalf. And just like how Elisha was able to pray and said, Oh Lord, please open his eyes that he may see. So the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. And God is just telling us too, as his children, that you need to open your eyes. Because many of us have been so blinded by our struggles, our challenges, our life problems. You might be going through some tough times in your home, in your marriage, at work, as regards your children, as regards your partner. Your business is crumbling. So many things might be going wrong right now. And God is saying you shouldn't look at your situation. Don't be blinded by those problems, but rather open your eyes to see that I am for you. Open your eyes to see that I'm able to help you win this battle. I'm able to give you victory. And one thing about handing it over to God is you realize that you don't even need your human efforts to win it or to solve that problem. And you could see that when you are in a war against your enemies, the normal thing we fight with are arrows, and in this age, present age, you fight with guns and all that, and bombs and all that. But in this situation, Elisha didn't even need to fight. The children of Israel didn't even need to fight the battle, and yet they won the battle without even fighting it. And that is the beauty of when we hand over to God, when God expects you not to use your human efforts. Many of us just believe that we need to fight, we need to solve it our own way. And that's why many a times it seems that God is not listening to us. It seems that the difficult problem is not leaving, is not going, because you're trying to depend on your own effort. You're trying to solve that problem your own way, use your own human understanding, your own human wisdom. And God is saying, no, just hand it over to me. Like I told you, I'll always share with you guys my personal experience, and that's what God has been dealing with me in this recent months. on how to totally trust him and depend on him and just hand over my worries to him. And that was when he gave me the scripture of Psalm 23 verse 5. And I'll just quickly go through that. And 23 verse 5 says, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. And God was just telling me that, Gloria, that I'm getting you to a time where I have prepared your table. And all I need you to do is just come sit down. And many a times we have our lives planned out because we feel that we have the resources, we have the affluence, we have the wisdom, we have the knowledge, we have everything it takes to be able to prepare that table. And God is saying, yes, you might have all that, but at this point, I don't need you to use your human efforts to prepare that table. I've already prepared the table for you. All I just want you is to come sit down and eat at the table. And it's a place that when you get to as a child of God, you begin to understand what it means, one, to trust God, secondly, to enjoy God's favor and God's grace, where your success, your how will I put it, your achievements cannot be traced to your own human efforts, but rather you attained it by God's divine favor. And what is the beauty of our faith? At the end of the day, what is the whole essence of our faith? If all we can achieve without the help of God, if we can achieve all these things by our own efforts, our own human knowledge and wisdom, then where is the place of God's goodness? Where is the place of God's miracles happening in our lives? Now, this is not to say that you should just sit down, fold your hands, don't put effort, don't aspire. No, this is not what I'm trying to say, and this is not what God is trying to say. But God is just trying to tell us that there's a point where you get to, where you begin to enjoy God's favor, enjoy God's grace, where the things in your life, you can trace it back to God's showing up for you without even you knowing that, oh, that this is possible. And that's how, as children of God, because if you've not experienced God's goodness, if you've not experienced God's miracle, divine provision, how do you trust him? How do you serve a God that you have nothing to show in your life that he has done for you? And that's why so many people find it very difficult to believe in God, because they've never really had an encounter with him. And sometimes these challenges we go through is just the way of God letting us encounter him, to let us know that he's always there. All we need to do is just hand it over to him. Like I said, I'm in a period of my life when God is telling me that, Gloria, you no longer have to think that by you worrying or doing these things, trying to achieve your goals, your aspirations, then you think that, okay, you've arrived, you are successful. But there are times when God himself wants to take the glory. He doesn't want to share it with you. So that by the time you are sharing your life experience, you are sharing your testimony, you yourself will be able to let them know that this is God's goodness. It has nothing to do with your own human efforts. And recently also, God used a particular song to minister to me by Elias Duma, and it's called The Gospel is Rest. And in that song, he was trying to just explain that many of us have gotten so addicted to getting worried. And God is telling us, my child, put it down. Like you are carrying the whole world on your shoulders. And I've done that already. So why do you feel the need to carry those burden? Just hand it over to me. Put it down. Why are you fighting battles that I've already won? And that is what God is telling us. Just put it down. Hand it over all to him. What is that issue you're going through in your marriage? What is that issue you're facing at your workplace? What is that issue you're facing over your children? What is that issue you're facing over your finances? God is saying, put it down. I mean, come unto me, all who you are weary and everybody, and I'll give you rest. God is saying, my child, I'm able to give you rest. I'm able to fight your battles. There are things you are trusting God for. And it's because we're not seeing it. We easily get discouraged. We easily wallow in despair, in hopelessness, because it seems like God is not answering us. And God is saying, I don't need you to worry anymore. Just trust me enough to hand it over to me, and I will show up at the right and appointed time. And I'll share my personal experience, like I said. Recently, I was trusting God for a job as regards my career, which is the legal profession here in Canada. And where I was working, I started applying to law firms so that I could get the job and everything. And nothing was forthcoming. And I just got this day I went into work and I just got restless, and there was just this thing in my spirit to just resign. I had not even gotten the job and I just resigned. And I remember I got back home and I told my husband I resigned. He was angry because I didn't consult with him before taking that decision. And I explained to him because I knew if I had told him he's not going to support that, he will ask me to still wait till I get another job before I leave that one. But I knew what God was telling me. And every day I kept applying to different law firms. I kept applying, hoping that, okay, one of them will even call me for an interview. But one thing I noticed that in all this, because I knew this was God, I wasn't worried. I just was doing what was expected to apply for jobs. And at the end of the day, when I got the job, I didn't even get the job because I didn't get the job through all the places I had applied to. I got the job to a law firm I didn't apply to. And that was when I understood, when God was telling me that I've prepared a table for you, that all you need to do is come sit down. And that's when you know that it is God, because you realize it's not your effort. I got this job without an interview. I got this job without applying for it. And God just prepared it. And all I did was step in and take the job. And after getting this job, I just realized everything I had been praying for and trusting God for, I just saw it happening. And that was when I knew that this actually came from God. And that's what God is telling us, to stop worrying. I have your life planned out for you already. And that's why He was telling us that the thoughts I have towards you are of good and not of evil, to give you hope and a future. But many at times, many of us just think that it's by worrying, it's by doing things by our own efforts, going out there. Yes, it's okay to make plans, but you must always leave room to tell God that, God, let your will be done. You must always leave room to say that, okay, God, what are you saying? Step in and I'm ready to hand over to you. Let your will be done. We must get to that point where you must let God express Himself in your life. You must let God take glory in your life. You must let God use your life to tell others that He is God. So that by the time you are sharing your experience, people will know that truly this God exists, because you've had an encounter with Him. You've experienced His goodness. You've experienced His faithfulness. Excuse me. And that's what builds our faith. Because you yourself, you know how real this God is to you, because He had showed up for you when you didn't expect. And that's what I'm saying today. No matter what you're going through, whatever the issue it is, whatever the problem is, put it down, hand it over to Him. God is able to carry your burden. God is able to carry that pain on your behalf. Just hand it over to Him and wait until you hear God. Like, wait till you hear God. You don't have to put in your efforts. You don't even need your efforts to win any battle. You don't need your efforts to get that thing you are trusting God for. It will come. Just come, and you know that it is God. And the way it will come with ease, without you worrying or struggling to get it, it will come. And that's why you know that this is God showing up for me. And if as a child you've not experienced what it is to just sit down and enjoy your father, how would you be able to call him father? How will you be able to tell him or tell others about how wonderful he is to you? Many of us today can boast and speak well of our parents, because we know that there are many times that there were things they did for us without even us asking them. So also God is telling you that I have plans for you. You don't have to worry. You don't have to think. You don't have to overthink it. It will come to fulfillment at the right time. Just trust me and hand it over all to me. I pray that the Lord will continue to be with us, continue to help us to carry our burdens, and we will continue to enjoy God's rest on every side. It's possible to enjoy God's rest on every side, and you can't enjoy it if you don't hand it all over to Him.